we all know, once the need assessment is done, business case and benefit management plan is approved, then the project actually started. The project started with the project charter getting approved. Okay, project charter get approved. Once the project charter get approved, then we make assumption log, which is basically the list of those things, assumption, and then we identify stakeholders. Okay, identification of stakeholder is the most critical thing. Now what we do, let's take it from there. Once you have identified the stakeholders, we identify the stakeholder using expert judgment, then we use focus group, we review the documents that we have, we look at OPS, we look at EEF, everything that can help us to identify the stakeholder, we use that. Once stakeholder identifies, then we categorize them upward, downward, inward, outward. Once that is done, then we use power and trust matrix to rank the stakeholders. Who are the important stakeholder, who are the less important stakeholder. The stakeholder who are the extremely important stakeholder, we manage them closely. High power, high interest. Those stakeholders who have high power, not interested, we want them to satisfied. Those stakeholders who have no power but they are highly interested, we keep them informed. And then we also make a watch list for those stakeholders who are neither powerful, not interested. Okay, watch list. Then we also look at other particular area. If we want to have look at the 3 dimension, we have stakeholder cube, power, interest, and any other things, or salience model, power, urgency, legitimacy. Once your stakeholder register is updated with the important stakeholder, we go to the planning area. We move from here to here, and we will make stakeholder engagement plan. Stakeholder engagement plan has the strategies that are required to engage the stakeholders. What are the strategies that you will require to change the current engagement level of the stakeholder? Unaware, neutral, resistant, sportive, leading. Let's say he is neutral, you want him to sportive. Stakeholder engagement plan is all about the strategies that we are going to use to change the current engagement into your desired engagement. We make the stakeholder engagement plan, we send it for approval. And then in the meantime, we start making communication management plan. Communication management plan consists of 4 hours of communication. Right information that we want to communicate at the right time to the right people to have the right impact. Who needs the information? What information is needed? In which format is needed? Do we need a push communication? Do we need a pull communication? Do we need an interactive communication? Which type of communication is needed for each stakeholder? That must be written. Is it a written format, verbal format, daily communication, monthly communication? How much detailed communication? Everything about it is written in the communication management plan. We try to understand the political awareness of the stakeholders and understand their culture, their custom, their language, and communication management plan is sent for approval. Then we start talking about the team. For the team, we have a resource management plan. Okay, we start having a resource management plan. We make a resource management plan. Resource management plan talks about how to acquire the resources, how to develop the resources, how to maintain the resources. Each and every single thing is being done into that thing. I'm recording, guys. Okay, how we require the resources, how we develop the resources, how we manage the resources, and finally how we release those resources. That is put in the resource management plan. Which means, do I need a virtual resources like you, all of you guys? Virtual is fine to you, or no, I need a physical person, someone sitting with us, working day-to-day thing. We look into that. Both are fine, both are important, both are needed, both have their challenges. Virtual communication is challenging. Physical, the cost will increase. So you will balance what is needed according to requirement, and you will go for that pertinent thing. Okay, you will decide. Maybe you go for a hybrid. Once you have decided, then you will see which team members you need. What are the skills that are required, needed for your projects? We need to know those type of skills. I want to have a T-type leader who have an in-depth knowledge of a topic as well as a general knowledge of other topic. We need to look into that. Is this important for us? Is this needed for our project? We want to have a T-type leader in our project. That really help us if we can have a T-type leaders in the project. When the team is with us, I need to do their surveys. I need to identify what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, how they want to use the opportunity, and what are the threats. I want to give them the work according to their strengths so that they can perform better. I make a RACI chart, which is basically responsible, accountable, consult, inform. It should be see here. Who is responsible for what thing, how I'm gonna use that thing. And I make RAM, that is subset of it, who is responsible for what patent thing into that area. And then I will use resource calendar to put identification of all the resources, when they will come, when they will not come. Okay, so we have the entire resource management plan. We will also plan for their training. This is a very important thing. I need to plan, I need to budget their training. Throughout the project, team member may need training. We need to provide those training. We need to measure those training. And we need to make sure if they need retraining, we do that. That is a job of the project manager. We called it training need assessment. We keep on doing that throughout the project. Very critical for the project management. If we talk about the methodology of the project, there are different ways. You can be a situational leadership, but we want servant leader as a project manager. Servant leader is someone who take cares for the team. Servant leader is someone who makes sure the team is properly developed, properly worked, understanding them. In order to understand the entire team topic, we can use Tuckman ladder, also known as stages of team. Okay, let's say here time, here it is productivity. Initially when team comes, we need to make a team charter. Team charter is a working document. Team charter is their agreement. It has the ground rules, which are the basic rules and regulation that the team needs to follow. It will have that. It will have what values we are going to follow, how we are going to make decisions, and how to handle the conflicts, things like that. Initially, project manager should make the team charter. Then the team can update it accordingly. So in the forming stage, everyone gives their best. They are trying to do the best of their abilities, but still it's an individual. We'll move from forming to storming stage. Here, the reality sets in. The team starts having conflict. There's a conflict of power. Project manager needs to act like a coach, use active listening. He needs to use emotional intelligence here, which consists of 5 things: self-awareness, self-management, understand yourself, manage yourself, and then social skills, understand other, empathy, how other people basically feel, and finally, what motivates other. In order to understand what basically motivates other people, we need to understand Abraham Maslow hierarchy of need. Abraham basically said, unless lower needs like food, water, shelter, they are not satisfied, people will not move towards the other need. I need to see where my team falls. Then we need to understand Herzberg theory of motivation, and that is hygiene agent and motivating agent. What motivates the people? What are the hygiene agent under that context? I need to look into that. I need to understand theory X. Are we those type of organization that want to continuously monitor, or theory Y, who believes no, people can grow, so let them grow. I need to understand Macklin's theory of power, achievement, and affiliation. I need to understand that thing. Maybe halo effect is important, so look at halo effect. Then there's a theory called expectancy theory. Expectancy theory states that if I expect that I will grow, if I expect that this thing is important for me, I will take action according to that. Expectancy theory. Once I understand what motivates them, I also need to know that what level of conflict are we working at right now. There are 5 level of conflict. Level 1 is problem to solve. We are solving the problem. We are working into that. So no problem into that. Let them solve the problem. Project manager does not interfere here. If it escalates, it goes to level 2. That is disagreement. Now I need to interfere. I need to talk to the team. I need to see, hey, what is happening here? I need to work into that disagreement. Level 3 is contest. Now team is trying to win. I need to look into that. The team is doing win-lose situation. Level 4, now it has become crusade. They are becoming more of a grouping. Grouping is never good for a team. Maybe I need to break it down. And level 5 is world war. I need to look into that. Now the team members need to be separated. Otherwise, they can get physical. Project manager uses, like at world war, separate him, de-escalate the issue. If that crusade, he break the grouping so that now the team he can tackle one people at a time. And whatever he does, he needs to take them back to level 1 so that people can handle the conflict and solve by themselves. Once you are at the conflict management stage, you also need to understand there are various conflict techniques that can be used. Here, if I put concerns for others, and here I put concerns for myself. Okay, so we have a win-win situation, we have a win-lose situation, we have a lose-win situation, we have a lose-lose situation. Win-win is problem to solve. Let's solve the problem solving. Collaborate, even confront. Lose-lose is avoid or withdraw. I don't talk to anyone. I just document it. I am not confronting the people. Win-lose is I am forcing or directing my situation. Lose-win is I accommodate other people or I delay the conflict for a better time. Smoothing. You can also have a compromising. That is an in-between thing. But in compromising, you both parties need to give up something. All conflict management techniques are important. All can be used depending upon the scenario where we actually stand. Once you have handled the conflict, now the team will move towards the norming stage. At a norming stage, team started understanding the habits of each other. If it is managed properly, we'll reach to the ideal stage, which is performing, where I will just delegate the task and let them do their thing. And then I will go to adjourning. Adjourning is basically now the team is going, the project is ended. So that's the entire way how the entire team is working. It's a very important thing that the team try to innovate. The team is trying to make mistake. So it is your job as a project manager to build a collaborative environment. This is your job as a project manager, that the team can learn, the team can make mistake. You are servant leader, you are training them, you are coaching them, you are mentoring them. At the start of the project, the entire team may need training, but a little bit later, maybe few people need training. So understand this thing. You make a plan, you implement the plan, and you work it along the way. That is your job as a project manager. We have made a stakeholder plan, communication plan. We will implement, let's say, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and control, closing. We make stakeholder engagement plan. We will implement that plan in execution. We will compare that plan in monitoring and control. And if something needs to be changed, we will update that plan. At any time, if a new stakeholder is identified, you will put back into the stakeholder register. You don't need a change request for that. But if the plan needs to be updated, then we will raise a change request. And once stakeholder plan is updated, then we'll make a communication plan. That's the sequence of a new stakeholder. And if the resource management plan needs to be updated, of course, one change request is enough for everyone. So let's talk about quality. In planning, we make a quality management plan. Few things important about the quality management plan. We need to understand which standards we are gonna benchmark, which mean which standards are we gonna compare. Is it ISO standard? Is it our organizational standard? What standards I'm gonna use? And what is the cost of quality, cost of conformance, and cost of non-conformance? Money spent to avoid failures, money spent because of the failures. I need to calculate that cost. That cost is extremely important, and that can be helpful or damaging to the project. We need to add that cost. I also need to look at the quality metrics. What KPI metrics I'm going to use to measure the project. Maybe I'm going to measure SPI, schedule performance index, CPI, number of changes, etc., etc. What I'm going to measure in the project, that need to put in the quality metrics. Once quality metrics is approved and the quality management plan is approved, we implement the quality management plan. We use quality assurance or manage quality, which We make sure that the right process is being followed. We use control chart, controlling the process. We use check sheets, check how many defects are there. We do uh, checklist. We use Pareto principle. We use sampling. We use various tools and technique to identify that the right process is being followed and right process is being done. And then in quality control, when the deliverable is made, the team checks the deliverable. Is the deliverable according to the agreed plan? If that, we get verified deliverable in quality. It's a very important thing. The delivery is checked by the team, not by the client. It's a verified deliverable. Okay. Then in procurement, in plan procurement, we make a procurement management plan that talks about what strategy I'm going to follow, which type of contract I'm going to have. Is my scope fixed? I'm going to have a fixed price contract. Fixed price can have fixed price incentive free, fixed price economic price adjustment. Which type of contract you are going to have? Once we have decided that I'm going to have a fixed price contract, or if you want a cost reimbursement, which can be incentive fee or award fee, or you want something on subscription, time and material contract. Which type of contract do you really want? We decided. Then from where we want to buy, what is the source selection criteria? We look into that, and then we make procurement statement of work. Procurement statement of work will be a statement that will have each and everything that we want from outside, maybe warranty, cost, etc., etc. Once you make a procurement in manage or execution procurement, we send that procurement statement of work to the potential sellers. We have a bidder conference in which we discuss everything what we are looking. After that, they give us their proposals. We look at the proposals and we start having negotiation. Project manager does not take part in the negotiation that is uh, regarding to cost, but quality, scope, schedule, he needs to make sure. Once your proposals are shortlisted, signed, you get an agreement. Before getting an agreement, procurement statement of the work was everything. Now, agreement is the most important thing. This is also called as conduct procurement. Then we have control procurement in monitoring and control. Here, if you want to audit the seller, it must be written in your agreement. Please understand, audit is checking the effectiveness of the process. Audit is checking the effectiveness of the process. If you want to check Apple, it must be written in your contract. When the deliverable is there, you inspect the deliverable. If you expect when you inspect the deliverable, if you accept it, you can close the procurement and pay them. End of story. But if you disagree, a conflict is there. The conflict has 4 parts. First, we try to get a win-win situation. If we can get it, good. If not, do what is written in the contract. If not, get a mediator or a third party. And then if not, then go to court. That is how the procurement should flow. Procurements are closed throughout the project. Throughout the project, we close procurement. Next, let's discuss risk. In planning, we make a risk management plan. Risk is the biggest topic in planning. In planning, we make risk management plan. Okay. So when we make a risk management plan, it defines the risk attitude of the stakeholders, how the stakeholders want to do. It defines that is risk seeker, is risk neutral, or is risk averse. What is their tolerance? Things like that. And it also defines your probability impact matrix. What does high mean? What does low mean? What does medium mean? Important thing, it does not have any risk in it. It only has the method. Then you identify the risk similarly as you identify the stakeholders using SWOT analysis, using EEF, OPS, PESTEL, expert judgment, focus group, workshop, whatever you can use. You identify all the risk, you put in the risk register. Then to prioritize, we do qualitative risk analysis using probability impact matrix. We say these are low risk, these are medium risk, these are high risk. Then if needed, we go for quantitative risk analysis, in which we use advanced tools like influence diagram, okay, looking at the influence of, or sensitivity analysis, or also known as tornado analysis. We can use simulation as Monte Carlo analysis. We know risk is probability into impact. So in expected monetary value, we can also use how much reserves will be there. We can also use DC entry. When we have ranked the risk, both qualitative and quantitative, now we put risk response both for positive risk and negative risk. We know that risk is probability into impact. We have avoid, mitigate, transfer for negative, exploit, enhance, share for positive. And if the risk goes above our pay grade, we escalate that risk. This is the proactive risk strategy. You immediately handle that. The reactive is you identify the risk and you put a risk owner and risk trigger to that. They monitor the risk, and when occur, then this is called active acceptance. Then they implement the agreed plan, which is known as contingency plan or plan A. If that plan fail, we have fallback plan. Those risks which you identify and don't make plan, they are called passive risk, and we handle them as issues in our project if they occur, because we don't have plan for them. So risk owners will keep looking for the risk. In planning, you make risk management plan and risk register. In execution, the risk owner will look at the triggers of the risk, and when occur, they will implement risk response. In monitoring and control, we will do the audit of the risk. We will do the audit of the risk, and at the end of audit, we'll see are we following it or not. And we also generate risk report in it, which will give the summary of the entire thing into us. Plus, we will also see when the response is implemented, how much is the residual risk, remaining risk that we have, okay? And secondary risk, a result that occurred because of that. Secondary risk goes back to the primary risk. Just like stakeholder, at any time, if a new risk is identified, that goes into risk register, and we follow the same process for it. Now, anything that you did not identify and that happened, you put into the issue log. Once you put in the issue log, you do the root cause analysis that why it was not identified. And if needed, raise a change request to handle it. Once handled, implement the response. If that can occur in your project, you will update risk register, and for sure we will update lesson learned register for future. Okay. Now we go to the scope topic. Okay. So at the scope, first we need to look into that is the requirement or scope is fixed or is it variable? This is scope. Is the delivery one go or it is multiple go? If the scope is fixed and we want single delivery, we have predictive. If scope is fixed but we have multiple delivery, it is incremental. If scope can change but we want one delivery, it is iterative. If both can change, it is agile. This is called as change driven or adaptive. This is called plan driven or waterfall predictive. Let's first talk about predictive. How do we handle if the project is predictive? Using requirement management plan, we will collect the requirement for the product. Same techniques as we used for stakeholder risk. In addition to that, we can use prototype, value stream mapping, context diagram, put all the requirement into requirement traceability, metrics, and requirement documentation. We have all the requirement for us for the product. Using scope management plan, we put a filter to separate these requirements, and we will get project scope statement. And then using decomposition, we'll divide the entire work. We will get work breakdown structure. The smallest part of WBS is called your work package. The highest is called control account. In between, we have planning package. Okay, the entire WBS has a WBS dictionary to understand it, and the numbers that you use on it is called code of account. You send it for approval for project scope statement, WBS dictionary, and this code of account. Once it is approved, this is called scope baseline. Now you cannot change this baseline. If you want to update it, you need to raise a change request. If a client try to add something without going to the proper control procedure, that is called scope creep. And if you add anything more than that, that is called gold plating. Okay, we discussed in the quality thing that when the deliverables are inspected in quality, okay, if the quality says they are quality control, good to go, they become verified deliverable. Here in the scope, client checks them, and if the client says they are according to scope baseline, we call them accepted deliverable or validated deliverable, which goes to the closing then. So now in the schedule topic, what we will do in schedule topic, we already have a schedule management plan. At our hand, we will divide the work package into activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. We will see the type of relationship between the activities. Is it finish to start? Is it start to start, start to finish, finish to start? We will look at what are the leads and what are lags in our project. We will measure both leads and lags in our project, and we will then calculate the duration of the activities using analogous estimation, same, parameter, multiples, bottom up, the entire bottom up, and 3-point estimation, which can be optimistic, pessimistic, most likely, average, or beta estimation, optimistic, for most likely, pessimistic. We will do that. Once we have all these things for activities, we will use critical path method to calculate the duration of each of them. And once we have the duration, that will become, we will just add them simply, that will become schedule baseline. Okay, let's say this is 4 days, 5 days, this is 7 days, this is 1 day, this is 3 days, this is 2 days. 4 plus 7, 11, 11 plus 3, 14, 16, this path A, C, E, F, 4 plus 5, 10, 10, 12, 12. So this A, C, E, F is my critical path. The above one is non-critical path. The difference between them is called float. The float is how much the project can be delayed without delaying the critical path. That is your float. A critical path has zero float. Once your schedule baseline is done, you have a Gantt chart, network diagrams. You will show it to the management. If the management want to decrease the schedule, we need to do the change request. We have two ways to decrease the schedule compression, that is crashing, adding more resources in it, or fast tracking, making the activities parallel. This will increase cost. Okay, this will increase risk. If money is not the problem, we will always go for crashing as compared to fast tracking. There is another technique. If your resources are problem, if you have a overhead resources, the resources are overloaded, we use resource leveling, which means we will change the schedule according to the availability of the resources. Resource leveling is we change the schedule according to the availability of the resources. That can increase your schedule baseline. But if you don't want to increase your schedule, but you want to look into the schedule, how we can make it easier, that we can do resource smoothing. In resource smoothing, the schedule baseline does not changes. So as a result, it is possible not all resources are optimized. Why do we do that? Sometimes one resource have a work of 16 hours, other resource has a work of 4 hours. We want to equally divide the load. So then we do leveling and smoothing. In leveling, baseline can change. In smoothing, schedule baseline will not change. Then we will go to the cost topic. We'll make cost management plan that will have the details, how you are going to get financing, which currency you are going to use, what is your tolerance range, our threshold range. We will look into that. Then we'll look at our funding limit reconciliation. Funding limit reconciliation is the 2 cent words, which means we don't give the entire money in one go. We give in parts, and then we look into that. And once we get our cost baseline, which basically is same as schedule, but it is interesting thing. In cost baseline, we add activity plus contingency reserves. What is contingency reserve? We add the risk, we add the cost of the identified risk. Okay, so all the activities plus their contingency reserves is your cost baseline. If you add management reserves, which is cost of unidentified risk, it becomes project budget. Now, once it is finalized, we'll start implementing the project. We'll start working on the project. If you want to measure how you are doing cost-wise or schedule-wise, we have earned value analysis, in which we measure schedule, the schedule variance, which is earned value minus planned value, and cost variance, which is earned value minus actual cost. We can also use SPI and CPI. Okay, it's the same thing with the division formula. Okay, in summary, it should be more than 0 or a minimum 0. It should be 1 or better than 1. The more it is, the better it is for your project. If you want to calculate how much more money we need to complete, we use this formula for that. Okay, once the entire project is completed, we also look at the change management plan, how the changes in the project will be handled, and configuration management plan. This all 18 plans becomes the part of our project management plan, which we will send it for approval for our client so that they can approve our project into it. Now, let's say when you are deciding for the project, your project is agile type, or it's a hybrid, which is a combination of predictive and agile. So we need to understand 4 values of agile. That is the heart and soul of agile: individual and interaction over processes and tool. Team is very important in agile. Guys, type the 4 values in agile in chat box. The team is very important in the agile. We want to make sure that they are important, not the processes. Processes can bend, but we want to work for the team. Second is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. We want to give value to the customer. Yes, we know contracts are important, that's good, but the value that the customer gets, the customer is the king in the game. We want to work for the customer and give value to him. Working software over a comprehensive documentation. Whatever works is important as compared to perfect thing. We use the concept of minimum viable product in the agile. We want to give something at the hand of the customer. Respond to a change over following a plan. We want to give value to the customer. We don't care about the plan. Respond to a change over following a plan. Then we have 12 principles, which is kind of an extension of the values. Important thing in the principle is that we want to have a sustainable progress, continuous progress there. We want to continuously focus on the quality. We want to continuously work with the quality. We want to improve that thing. We want to work, the business people work together on daily basis. These are some of the principles. Remaining are extension of that. Very critical thing in agile is what we want to give an incremental delivery. Agile works in progressive elaboration or rolling wave planning, which means as we move forward, we plan it in detail. As we move forward, we plan things in detail. So what we do in agile, first we make product roadmap, the entire roadmap for the project. Then once we have the roadmap over hand, we make releases. Okay, we divide it further into releases. Then we have iterations and sprint. Into that, we make iterations and sprint into that thing. That's an important thing. We make iteration. The length of iteration is 1 to 4 weeks. And then we have daily stand-up. It can also be put in this way. We have roadmap. Then we have releases. Then we have iteration or sprint, which is 1 to 4 weeks. Then we have daily stand-up, which means as we move forward, we plan it in detail. This is the high level of agile. Agile has multiple methodologies: lean, waste removal, Kanban, XP, DSDM. But in PMP, the most important is Scrum. Scrum framework consists of 5 events, 3 roles, 3 documents. As the summary of a Scrum, the Scrum start with when the product owner collects requirements from the sponsor and everyone. He collects all the requirement and put in a document that is known as product backlog. That document is prioritized by high value, high risk. We use Moscow and other techniques to prioritize all the user stories in the product backlog. Once they are prioritized, team put a risk, look into that what are the high risk things. Team is responsible to calculate the effort of each user stories. They will look at the product backlog and calculate the effort of each user stories using affinity estimation, ideal odds, or Fibonacci series. We use planning poker for our consensus building thing, and we can also use a Delphi technique to get the anonymous consensus. Once we know the story point, which is the time or effort required to each user story, once we know that, we estimate the velocity, which is number of story point you complete in one sprint. We'll start working into that. First, that team will do sprint 0. In sprint 0, the team will do the proof of concept architectural spike, making sure that what we are going to do is possible or not. Once that is done, we'll start with a normal sprint, which is normally 1 to 4 weeks. It starts with sprint planning, where from product backlog, we pulled things into sprint backlog and we share sprint goal to the everyone. Okay, normally sprint is 1 to 4 weeks. Normally it is 2 weeks. We have daily stand-up, same time, same location, discussing what you have done yesterday, what you are going to do today. Is there any impediment, roadblocks, things like that? We will discuss those things on information radiators in daily stand-up. What are information radiator? Your burn down chart, how much work is remaining, or your burn up chart, how much work is done. That is information radiator. Plus, we have task board that shows you the status of the work, and Kanban board that is used to find out work in progress limit, where the bottleneck is, where the problem is, how to build the flow into that. Team discuss that, and when the sprint gets over, in sprint review, according to definition of done, those user story which are completed, team shows to the customer. If that is according to their acceptance criteria, it goes into product increment. If they are not according to that or not completed, it goes back into product backlog. New things can also be added into product backlog at this stage. We reprioritize the product backlog, and then we do sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is a 5 stages lesson learned workshop where you identify how we can improve the next sprint. Okay, 5 stages lesson learned in workshop. We keep on working into that, and once everything is completed in iteration or sprint H, we give it to the, we final check and then give it to the customer for looking at that. That is the Scrum. If we talk about lean, in lean we have value stream mapping, where we try to decrease the lead time as well as cycle time, how we can remove the non-value added task. In XP, 2 programmers are sitting together and continuously integrating it, and we have to refactoring, which is simplifying the code in XP. So this is the entire thing in planning, and in execution we complete the entire project. In monitoring and control, if something is needed, we do that. Once the project is completed by accepted by the client, we get a approval from sponsor and we start closing the project. It is possible that your project is not completed, or the project has too much risk, or money is out of the way. Then you may have to premature close the project. Whatever is it, sponsor approval is needed. Then you check your benefit management plan, that is our project useful or not. That's an important thing, because it was made before for benefit. We start writing final report, start writing lesson learned register. First final report, then lesson learned register and project document. Once that is done, it is archived. Final report is shared according to communication management plan. We close the project and celebrate the success. So if we look up one more time, need assessment, business case, benefit management plan, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, closing. Then it goes to operation. Need was that we want to increase our business value, which is a tangible and intangible value. Business case will look at cost benefit thing, it will look at intangible thing. When the project charter gets approved, we start working into our project. Then the project really started. Assumption log has all the assumption it with the stakeholder register. Then we move towards that thing. We make a project management plan, which has all the things. In case of agile, will be product backlog. In execution, we start working on it. Issues will be generated, team will be managed, team will be trained. In monitoring and control, we do the variance analysis, compare plan with the work, and if something needs to change, we change that. In closing, we close the project. Then we train the team on transition, so that they can convert into operation. And that's your entire PMP, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any question, please ask. Thank you, Braham said. Can we close our project with open procurement? Of course, we can close our project with an open procurement. Whatever the reason, once the project is closed, then we just close it. That's why we have a procurement team that will be looking forward for that. Okay. What's rolling wave adopted? Both are the same thing, different name. Rolling wave planning is also just like progressive elaboration. As you move forward, you plan that thing in more detail. Great, fine. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Kapil. G, anyone else? Any question? Yeah, it is both. It is used mostly in Agile, Anasa. It's used in both, but it's a way of planning how we do. Anyone else? Any question? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So